Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content. Subscribe and turn on notifications. She stood in my kitchen with one hand on her stomach, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You need to do the right thing." I remember the exact sound my glass made when I set it down on the counter. Not loud. Just a small click. But in that moment, it felt like a gun being cocked. I stared at my wife, Emily, and for a second I honestly thought I'd misheard her. "The right thing," I said. Her jaw tightened. "I'm pregnant." That part didn't shock me as much as what came next. "And before you start acting crazy," she said, "we both know this baby could be yours." Could be. Not is. Could be. That one word told me everything. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even move. Because the second she said that, something inside me went cold. Not broken. Not shattered. Cold. Focused. And the craziest part? By then, I was already expecting something bad. Just not that. Emily had just come back from a 12-day girls' vacation in Tulum. According to her, it was supposed to be a reset. She said she was burned out, stressed, needed space, needed sun, needed to find herself. That phrase should have annoyed me more than it did, but at the time, I was still trying to be a good husband. I'm 36. I run a small but successful commercial flooring business with 2 partners. Nothing flashy, but good money, steady work, long hours. The kind of job where people count on you to show up and solve problems. That's always been me. I'm not dramatic. I don't panic. I fix things. Emily used to say that was what she loved about me. I made life feel stable. We've been married almost 4 years. No kids yet. We talked about it, but timing never felt right. I wanted to expand the business first, pay off the lake cabin I bought before we got married, and make sure we had something solid to bring a child into. At least that's what I thought we were building. Looking back now, the cracks had been there for months. Emily had changed slowly, then all at once. She became secretive with her phone. Started locking the screen when she used to leave it face up on the couch. She got weirdly defensive about money too, asking more and more questions about the business accounts, my assets, the cabin deed, the retirement funds. Not in a curious wife kind of way. In a calculating way. One night, out of nowhere, she asked, if something ever happened between us, what would I actually be entitled to? She tried to say it casually, like it was some random conversation sparked by a TikTok video or one of her podcasts. But I noticed. I noticed details for a living. Then came the distance. Not just physical. Emotional. She'd sit next to me and feel 1,000 miles away. Short answers. Forced smiles. Irritation over nothing. If I asked what was wrong, she'd say I was being controlling. If I left her alone, she'd say I didn't care. It felt like being punished for a crime I hadn't committed. Still, I kept trying. Took her to dinner. Cleared weekends. Suggested counseling. She brushed it all off. Then 2 weeks before the trip, she picked a fight because I couldn't leave a job site in the middle of a contract dispute to meet her for lunch. "You always choose work," she said. "I'm choosing the thing paying for this house," I said. That was the first time she looked at me with open contempt. She went on the trip anyway. Said it had already been booked with her friends. I paid half, because that's what married people do when they still think they're married. While she was gone, the silence was almost a relief. No tension in the house. No little tests. No cold shoulders. But around day 4, one of my employees, Marcus, called me at night about a schedule change. While we were talking, he casually mentioned he'd seen Emily at the airport before the trip. "With some guy," he said. "Thought maybe it was your brother or cousin or something." I only have one brother, and he lives in Oregon. "What guy?" I asked. Marcus hesitated. Tall dude. Beard. Expensive-looking watch. They seemed close. I thanked him, hung up, and sat in the dark for a long time. I didn't call Emily. I didn't accuse her. I just started paying attention. The next day, I checked our shared credit card statements. Most of the charges matched what she'd told me: resort deposits, restaurants, beach clubs. But there were 2 things she hadn't mentioned. A pair of business class upgrade charges on the outbound flight. And a boutique hotel booking for the first 3 nights under a second reservation, separate from the girls' villa. That didn't prove cheating. But it proved lying. Then I called an old friend of mine, Darren, who's a family attorney. Not to file anything. Just to ask questions. Hypothetical questions. What happens if a spouse cheats? What happens if she gets pregnant? What if the child isn't mine? What if she lies? He gave me the calm, ugly version of the truth. Depending on timing, paperwork, and whether I acted stupid, a lie could become my legal problem very fast. That's when I stopped being a husband trying to save a marriage and became a man protecting his life. By the time Emily came home, I already had copies of our financial records, property documents, account histories, and timestamps from the home security system. I'd moved inherited family money into an account she never had access to. I'd changed passwords on everything tied to my business. And I'd installed one tiny new camera in the living room facing the entryway. Not because I wanted a show. Because I had a feeling she was bringing one. She arrived in oversized sunglasses, tan, expensive luggage rolling behind her, acting like she'd just returned from a spiritual retreat instead of whatever she'd really been doing. She barely hugged me. Spent the first hour talking about how transformative the trip had been. Then she disappeared into the bathroom and came out pale. That night she didn't touch dinner. The next morning she bought 3 pregnancy tests. I saw them in the trash before she said a word. Then came the kitchen. Her hand on her stomach. That line about doing the right thing. I asked the question I already knew the answer to. How far along? She blinked. I don't know exactly. Try again. Maybe 5 weeks. I almost laughed. She'd been gone less than 2. She saw it on my face and instantly adjusted. Well, dates can be off. No, I said quietly. Not like that. That's when the performance started. Tears. Trembling voice. Claims that stress had messed up her cycle. Claims that we'd been distant, but still intimate enough that it was possible. Then came the real tactic, Jens. If you abandon me right now, she said, that says a lot about the kind of man you are. There was. Not love. Not fear. Strategy. I asked one more question. Who is he? Her eyes hardened for half a second before the tears came back. I knew you'd do this. That was answer enough. Over the next week, I played the part she expected. Confused. Uncertain. I told her I needed time. I slept in the guest room. She texted constantly, switching between guilt, anger, and fake tenderness. One message said, families get through hard things. Another said, you can't punish an innocent baby because of your pride. An innocent baby. Not our baby. I met Darren in person and gave him everything. He told me not to move out, not to sign anything, not to say a word I couldn't take back. He also told me to get proof before she built a story around me. I got that proof faster than I expected. 3 nights later, Emily got drunk on the patio while talking to her friend Vanessa on speaker. She thought I was asleep upstairs. I was in my office with the window cracked, and the house was quiet enough that every word carried. I told him it could be his, Emily said. Vanessa laughed. And he bought that? He's suspicious, Emily said. But if I can keep him calm until I get a doctor on paper, he'll be trapped in the timeline mess. Then came the line that made my stomach turn. Jason wants nothing to do with it unless I'm sure. He said he's not ruining his life over one mistake. One mistake. 12 days in paradise. Business class upgrades. Secret hotel. One mistake. I recorded the whole conversation on my phone. The next morning, I pulled audio from the patio camera too. Admissible enough to matter. I also finally learned who Jason was. Not some random guy. Jason Keller. Married. Regional sales director for a luxury fitness brand. I found him because Emily had stupidly left a printed excursion receipt in her luggage with his last name on the emergency contact line. A quick search gave me the rest. Wife. 2 kids. Corporate bio. Social media full of polished family man nonsense. I didn't contact him. Not yet. First, I set the table. Emily's parents were coming over that Sunday for an early anniversary dinner. Her sister too. She'd arranged it before the trip, probably imagining a cozy family scene where she could slowly roll out the pregnancy and force me into performing support in front of witnesses. So I let the dinner stay on the calendar. That afternoon, she was in a great mood. Almost glowing. She wore a loose cream dress and played the sweet wife routine like she deserved an award. When her family arrived, she kept touching my arm, smiling at me, acting like we were united. I stayed polite. Measured. Halfway through dinner, after the wine was poured and everyone settled in, Emily looked around the table and said, "We actually have news." I put my fork down. Her mother gasped before Emily even spoke. "Oh my God. Are you pregnant?" Emily smiled and nodded, eyes already wet, milking the moment. Her mother started crying. Her sister clapped. Her father raised his glass and said, "Well, that's one way to celebrate an anniversary." Then Emily reached for my hand. I moved mine away. The room changed instantly. I looked at her and said, "Tell them the rest." She froze. "What are you talking about?" "Tell them about Jason." Silence. Her mother frowned. "Who's Jason?" Emily stared at me like she was willing me to lose my nerve. I didn't. Instead, I took my phone from my pocket, connected it to the speaker in the dining room, and hit play. Her own voice filled the house. I told him it could be his. Then Vanessa laughing. "Then Jason wants nothing to do with it unless I'm sure." No one moved. No one breathed. Emily went white. "Turn that off." I did. Then I set a folder on the table. Inside were the flight upgrades, the hotel booking, printed screenshots of call logs, and a timeline Darren had helped me organize. I didn't even have to speak much. The facts did the work. Her father looked like he'd been punched. Her mother started crying for a completely different reason. Her sister just whispered, "Emily, what did you do?" Emily snapped. Not into guilt. Into rage. "This is insane," she shouted. "You went through my things? You recorded me? You humiliated me in front of my family?" I finally said what I'd been holding in for days. "No. You humiliated yourself. I just made sure I wasn't the man you pinned it on." She stood up so fast her chair tipped backward. "You think you can just throw me away?" I looked her right in the eye. "I'm divorcing you." For the first time since she walked into that kitchen, I saw real fear. Not because she lost me. Because she lost control. What followed was ugly but not messy. And that mattered. Because I was prepared. She tried to spin it. Told people I was cold, paranoid, emotionally abusive. That story lasted about 3 days, until enough people heard the recording. Jason's wife got involved after someone, still not sure who, sent her the hotel receipt and screenshots. Jason's perfect little image exploded. From what I heard, his wife filed immediately. His company put him on leave not long after. Emily moved in with Vanessa for a while. Then with her parents. Then apparently neither arrangement lasted, because being the victim is harder when the evidence has your voice on it. The divorce itself was faster than she expected and far less profitable. Because I'd kept inherited assets separate, protected the business, and documented everything, there wasn't much room for games. Darren was worth every cent I paid him. The best part? The child was never mine. A prenatal paternity test confirmed it before the divorce was final. By then I didn't need the emotional closure. Already had that. But legally, it sealed the door shut. Emily sent me one last message after the papers were signed. "You didn't have to destroy my life." I read it twice, then deleted it. Because that was the final lie. I didn't destroy her life. I just refused to let her use mine as a life raft after she blew hers up. It's been a little over a year now. The house feels different. Lighter. Cleaner. I kept the cabin. Expanded the business. Started sleeping through the night again. Started laughing without forcing it. I'm not in some revenge fantasy. I'm not out here trying to prove anything. I just have peace now, and once you've almost lost that to someone manipulative, peace becomes priceless. People think the worst part of betrayal is the cheating. It's not. The worst part is realizing someone looked at your loyalty, your stability, your love, and saw a tool. A safe place to lie. A decent man to trap. A life to exploit. That's what changed me. Not into someone bitter. Into someone awake. I used to think being strong meant holding everything together no matter what. Now I know sometimes strength is knowing exactly when to let go. Exactly when to stop explaining. Exactly when to choose dignity over attachment. If Emily had come home and told me the truth, maybe the ending still would have been painful, but it would have been human. Instead, she came home with a plan. And that was her mistake. Because pain can make a man emotional. But evidence makes him dangerous. In the end, I didn't win because I yelled louder. I didn't win because I got even. I won because I stayed calm long enough to see clearly. I protected what mattered. I told the truth at the right moment. And then I walked away. Some doors don't need closure. They need locks. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one.